We want to go to the ground to Kyiv. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel is there again for us this morning. Richard, we've heard about slow but steady progress on an advance by Russian forces toward the capital city where you're standing right now. What does it look like today? What are you seeing?
So there's a growing concern that Russian forces, which have been largely stalled until now, are starting to make some advances toward Kyiv. They've moved ahead several miles in the last 24 hours, and that long convoy, the 40-mile convoy, according to new satellite images, is no longer just stuck by the side of the road. It is broken up. It is moving around. It is redeploying, and this is consistent with what U.S. officials are saying, that Russia is now actively trying to surround Kyiv, and they believe that this operation to encircle the capital could take 1 to 2 weeks, with not just using troops from that convoy, but bringing in troops from other areas. The siege in Mariupol continues. The Red Cross is worried that, or is sounding the alarm that vital medicines are not just in short supply, but have run out completely, and that people are starting to fight over food. So a very dire situation in the city that had about 400,000 people. And as you were just talking about, it's hard to know how many people are still there right now. There are about a dozen humanitarian corridors that are opening and closing in this country. Sometimes they're flowing, sometimes they're blocked, but mostly they are trying to get out of cities that are currently under attack and going to other parts of Ukraine that might be attacked in the future. And President Zelensky says that so far about 100,000 people have moved along those humanitarian corridors, in addition to the 2.5 million refugees who've left the country.
You know, Richard, we've talked so much about military strategy and whether it'll be a no-fly zone and weapons going into the country, but I know you've been on the ground just talking to regular people who are living through a war right now and obviously scared for their lives as they've been cut off from, or at least pushed out of their houses and moved to other countries. What can you tell us about the feeling, the mood of the Ukrainian people? We've seen these public displays of patriotism and courage that have so inspired the world, but what is it like down on the ground?
People are still holding on. They are still united. They are still determined to resist. But as this war spreads out and Russia is attacking new targets, attacking 3 different locations just overnight, including the city of Dnipro, which had largely been spared. It was attacked with a single, apparently, airstrike, even though Russian troops are not that close to the city. It is creating a degree of concern. I don't want to say panic, but many Ukrainians are trying to reach their relatives, trying to call their extended families in places that are either surrounded or under attack. Internet, in many cases, is cut off. So here in the capital, according to the mayor, Klitschko, about half of the population has left, and the people who are here are trying to coordinate movements of families, trying to reach out to relatives who might be in other areas that are under attack, or their families are on the move, heading out of the country.
NBC's Richard Engel in Kyiv for us this morning. Richard, thanks so much.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.